the Spectrum, the podcast, episode 23. I am your host, 3 a.m. Alexander, a.k.a. Kareem Chin-Hugh, a.k.a. Mr. himself in the flesh, thriving and surviving. Thank you guys for coming back. I want to first start this off by saying, hey. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day out there. Today is 4/20, okay? This is the 4/20 episode of myself and the podcast. So I'm super excited to have this time with you guys. So let's start it off by saying congratulations for returning and congratulations for being yourself. I'm going to actually do one of these on camera from one of our sponsors. This is Greenway out of Durango, Colorado. One of their THC pens. I'm going to take a puff on camera for you guys, and this is a green dot battery pack. While I was away in Durango, aka Colorado, but really in Arizona for the road trip, for those of you who have seen our episode 69 of All Into the Spectrum, we are now officially traveling and taking road trips. So while I was out there, I came across this dispensary with the home team, which was called Greenway, and this is their battery pack, Green Dot battery pack. This is their THC pen wedding cake, and I'm going to take a puff of this because they sponsored us for this week and gave me some free stuff. So thank you guys over there. Jackie. All right, so now we're going to start off the podcast by taking an inhale and exhale. Godly. That was a deep breath. So yeah, let's start off by recognizing the recent episode of episode 69 of All Into the Spectrum. That was a family road trip with the gang. We went all the way from South Florida all the way to the West Coast. And for those of you who do not go on road trips or travel often, you know, imagine just driving around your city for fucking 3 days. It's crazy, but in any case, it's a 2,000-mile drive. I would say about the amount of times we had to fill up when it comes to the expedition we were in. It's a diesel, you know, it's a heavier set vehicle because we were going to experience a lot of off-roading. The amount of times we ended up stopping, I would say it was about 12 times. We stopped 12 times. That includes going and coming. So 6 times going, 6 times going back. That's gas, you know. And then the amount of times the fill up, I would say like $50 a time. Like, you know, you get about an average of 500 miles for a full tank. You know, 300, if you have a good car, you can get anywhere from 399 miles for a full tank all the way up to about 420, you know, if you have a good car that actually got some good mileage. So that's the drive. It was a very, very awesome drive. Each of us, it was 3 people, me, mom, and brother. We each had a chance to basically own the wheel and drive multiple times. You know, my brother, he's the person driving the longest, honestly. He drove like 12-hour rides a couple times. So he's a savage. And then I came in between with like second place, 6 hours, 5 hours. And then my mom would usually do the night shifts. I don't know. She likes driving at night, and I don't like driving at night. And my brother likes driving at night. So it's kind of a mixture of like who likes to drive at night. I like to take the daytime, get the sun, you know, get to see everything versus not seeing nothing at all. So that's our first half covering our driving experience. I would say it was a 10 out of 10 because we got a spacious SUV. Like any time that I got a chance, I was basically laying down, streaming podcasts or YouTube videos basically on framework and building and structures. So like while we were traveling, I was learning while I had a chance. So that was my driving experience was amazing. We stayed in a hotel for one night, which was in Durango, Colorado. You guys watched the episode 69. You saw that. We had a freaking blast, though, on the way up. I'd be honest with myself. It was very breathtaking from seeing the land have so many different forms. You know, it can go from being very dry then to being very cold and having snow, and the climate just elevates. You know, the elevation is also high too. You're talking about 2,000 miles high of elevation in height. I apologize. You're talking about 2,000 miles in height of elevation. It can honestly cause your breathing to feel strange. Like you can feel like, you know, your lungs are working a little bit harder to clean the air that's coming into your body. I liked it. I liked the drive through, seeing the mountains, seeing the land, basically for what it is. It's here in Fort Lauderdale, as you can see behind me. You know what we're working with. It's very overly developed, like these high rises that are basically towers in the sky that people live in. You know, you can oversee the entire city. You can see things from as far as the eye can see up here. And I'm not shaming that. I think that's fucking amazing. And it's such a privilege to be here at this altitude, so high up in the sky, a couple hundred feet. But when you're on the ground level as basically an ant and you're driving, you don't get to see what's up there. You only can see what's in front of you. So when you finally get a chance to get out of the car, you stretch, you get your life back in order, you breathe, you get air in your lungs, because while we're driving, the air conditioning is running. So that's a different type of air you're breathing the entire time. You're just breathing what's coming in through the car and being filtered into the system. You're not actually breathing any fresh air. So Durango, which is Colorado, it's a town in Colorado. Most people know more about like the Scottsdale, you know, the hippier parts of Colorado. They're not necessarily familiar with Durango because it's so small. Like they have, I would say their most notable thing there is their baths, like their spa. And this time around, I didn't get a chance to visit, but I heard great things about it, and I'm looking forward to it in the future. So the hotel was a great stay. The legalized marijuana was a great touch because we could smoke and actually recreationally smoke and feel free, whether it be in the car or, you know, outside your hotel room, whatever. You can smoke in the hotel room. You can really get frisky if you want to. So that's the THC kicking in. That is the THC kicking in. That's that wedding cake about to put me on my ass. Under these shades, if you can only see, my eyes went from here to here very quickly. That yawn basically helped me inhale, exhale that into position. So the hotel was a great stay. We basically took advantage of the showering and resting, like it was our resting point. And for me, it was an editing point because I was working on the video for you guys at the same time as shooting it. You know, 2 times I was working on the editing as well as I was working on my next track. So I have a sleeper for you guys this week. Sleeper is going to be by myself. I know there's a lot of new music out there. I have only listened to a few new things. I've been very, very not active, like at all. On social media, I'm not as active as I want to be. That's almost just because I just want to live, you know? Like, I don't want to document every single thing, but when I do document, I get real excited and I put my best foot forward. So let's finish. The hotel experience was amazing. We got to get our high on. We got to shower. We got to actually conversate and talk and then plan. And then we went to dinner. Oh, excuse me. That's my third one. All right. So we're going to just take a deep breath. Woosah. So then we went to dinner. And your local restaurants, there's no fancy shit out there. You can't really expect to eat top dollar, but you can eat good for what you're paying. So we hit a dope restaurant, local restaurant. I got a salad, chicken salad, fire. Everybody's eating healthy. We're all keeping it real light. I'll be honest, my first time that I actually got a chance to poop was actually on the second day. I didn't poop the whole drive. I didn't poop the entire day until we got in the hotel. And then we hit the road to the county. We went all the way to Arizona, to a small town where we have our plot and our lot. And this town is beautiful. This town is very, very, very old. You know, people have been around and circulating in that town for generations. You can see where the youth has went. They've traveled all to the nearby cities, Phoenix, Scottsdale, you know, New Mexico. They're not in the towns as much as they used to be, just because the resources, I would say the resources have been dried out. One thing that I learned about the land was just that, you know, it's all dried out. You know, they dry out everything. They suck the natural gas out of the ground that's right from under us, that provides heat, lighting, and electricity. It's gas that gives you electricity, by the way. Most people don't know that. They're so locked in the grid, they basically forget that there's an entire life form outside of us. So being on the grid and then leaving the grid is an insane sentence, but there's life outside of the grid. If you really want to create a life for yourself, the goal is to be off the grid so that your family can actually be free and live a life that they've never lived before. So it's basically challenging yourself and not running away from the challenge once you've brought it on to yourself. So going out to this town, I've experienced, it's a small town. Everyone knows each other. Like I would watch in the TV shows. I always wondered, like, why does everyone know each other in the TV shows, and they predict these small towns and people are all close and they're friends and things like that. And I never understood, like, that dynamic of living in a small town and knowing your neighbor and, you know, knowing them all your life, or what that could be like. So seeing it play out firsthand and St. John's was amazing. You know, I got to really see stuff that I'd never seen before, like people actually, you know, being people, existing, being jolly, being nice, not necessarily stepping over you to get somewhere. And it definitely felt like a lot of the life that was once there still remains there, but they protect it. They protect this life. You know, a new person comes in and they only want to deplete the land more. Like from what they've experienced and the stories I've heard, it's like people come and they want to buy land just to basically destroy the land. Like they want to lift it up. They want to remove the soil. They want to get directly into the natural gas, and they want to deplete that and sell it back to the grid. So one thing that you see on the roadways are these tanks and these mechanical machinery that basically extract life from the earth. And I felt so dumb because I didn't understand what I was even looking at for a second. I was like, what the fuck is that? Why do we keep seeing these tanks? That looks like they're doing a specific job there, and I'm not necessarily sure what they're doing. So I took it upon myself to do some research, and I was just looking on the internet at special tools and mechanics that are used to do certain things. And you see it. They have the advertisements all around, like sell back your gas, sell back your natural gas to the government or to the city. You know, help your locals by selling back your You see these signs. So it's like what the fuck? Like, the signs are basically telling you that your land is more valuable than what you paid for. You have abundance of financial freedom up under you, but you need to figure out how to extract it the right way. And this is where the city folk come into place. And this is where the government comes into place, where they basically help you do that, but they take a percentage. So now they like convince you that you are not only not smart, but they're going to basically use you to sell them back the gas that they would have gotten regardless. They just would buy the land. So arriving to that town, that's all you see out there. You know, you see these interesting machines, you see these people, you see the signs, and you begin to question, like, what the fuck? How can you get involved in that? How do you get involved in that? How does it work? So my point is everyone out there is living a completely different life. They're not necessarily working like a 9-to-5 job, or, you know, like necessarily actually working for the grid. You know, no one's working. Like, people are working for their land, and basically they have a service. Everyone is offering some sort of service also. By service, meaning they can help you pave a driveway, or they can help you transport something. They basically all are here to provide a service, every single person. And I didn't necessarily see anything wrong with that. I was like, wow, so you're working folk. It's not necessarily people that are like fucking hungry and starving, like they're looking for jobs and shit. Nah, there's not even homeless population out there. There's none of that. People have their land that's been passed down to them for generations, and they live on it, and then they become trade skilled. You know, they learn a trade, whether it be plumbing, engineering, electrical, something. People learn these things, and then they provide that service around the town and basically make money off of what they learned from the people. And that's how the world needs to be, guys. Instead of these big corporations owning us and owning our name, or owning our intellectual property, or owning our time, because that is what it is. When you go to a location and you basically have a job and you clock in somewhere, they bought your time. You've been bought for 5 hours. You've been bought for 8 hours. So at the end of the day, you don't even understand that shit. No one understands it. So it's all about the person to get educated and basically do their homework onto how to remove themselves. Like, get the fuck out of there. You know, use your brain. Don't necessarily think like they're giving you your money back. You know, every time you work, every time you put in time to work, you're basically working for your own money. That's what the Social Security number comes into place. The only way you get jobs out there is if you have that identifier number. It's fucking sick. But I just want to tell you guys a little bit about that. You know, like, that's what I learned on the trip there was, you know, the people that own their land out there all have a service to offer. They're in some sort of trade. They're not necessarily book smart, because when you become book smart, you do things by the book, and you are basically owned by the book. So you just become a fucking robot without even knowing. You've programmed yourself that way since a kid. And your parents have programmed you that way, and that's all you know. But when I was out there, I met a fucking amazing amount of people. So nice, so many nice people. And there's no such thing as not fitting in or not being equal to. So I learned that, man. I learned a lot out there, and our land it's a blank canvas. And at this point, we necessarily have to put hand and feet in TLC on that land in order to create our financial freedom. You know, we can have solar, we can have all these things working for us. It's just about applying ourselves. And I really learned that and with this trip, and I learned about myself more. Like, I wasn't in tune with the internet or on social media, because once I passed a certain threshold, there were no satellites in the sky, and there was no service. Was no phone service, and there was no one to check on. Like, there's no one to make me check that there should be someone checking on me or something. Like, there was nothing. It was very, very quiet. You can actually think, and you could actually hear your own thoughts if you really chimed in with yourself and got in tuned a little bit more deeper. So I liked it a lot, and I got a part 2 video coming soon. Really, with this podcast, I wanted to just talk about myself. Like, I didn't necessarily want to come on here and talk about like fictional shit and all these things that other people do. I necessarily want to talk about me. Like, I want to talk about what I'm going through and what's going on with me and my life and my family, and that's what brings you guys a little bit closer to me, because at the end of the day, nothing separates us between the camera. It's just you guys watching or listening from a certain point of view and just wanting to accept who we are. Like, anyone can do this, and I decided that I wanted to do it for me and not necessarily do it for anyone else. And here we are, episode 23. So with that being said, I've been rambling for a while. I want to play you guys my sleeper. It's going to be my song. It's called No Jumper. It's actually coming out in 3 days. I've already scheduled it for release. I'm very proud of this song and very happy. I'm like super happy because when I was away, I didn't think about any of this stuff and music and podcasts. I thought about the video because I wanted to put it together. That's all I cared about. But I didn't think about anything else. And I was like, man, what the fuck? Like, if you detach yourself for a week, you can forget about anything that's important to you. Like, it's weird. It was weird. And I saw a lot of internet posts to, people asking me if I'm okay and all this stuff. And I was like, man, that's so fucking dope. Like, you go away for a little bit, you excuse yourself from all this that's going out there, and you let people basically just wonder about you on their own time, and they do, and I appreciate that. So that being said, this is my song, No Jumper, 3 AM Alexander. Let's go.
They took it to 10.
Tangerine seeds in my Range Rover. Pussy start fluid on the basic off. Exotic drip, classy bitch, pink toes. Crushed out the pants, now it's starting to make me know. Yeah, green light on my shooters. If I'm ready, it's done. Niggas throwing hundreds. I keep it wrong. I could cancel a hoe. She got it checked up, fucked up, yeah. I could cancel the hoe real quick. We made a bond, I never forget.
Let me be a supplier.
Yeah, we made a bond, I never forget.
Let me be a supplier.
Yeah, you out of line, I never come back. I was lit before the deal.
My first purchase
was unforgettable. You out of line, I never come back. I was lit before the deal.
My second purchase
was my mama's crib. Long behold, we were getting lost with friends. It was under city lights. I knew I was lit from within.
Fashion forward.
Street lights for Yakovich. No, you cannot block this shit. I just might block the bitch if she on some stocking shit. Living through the apocalypse, bitches on my cocky shit. I pull up like a bitch, ballin', I can't stop this shit. Jaded. We get lost in the matrix, yeah.
We get lost.
I'm writing songs while I'm faded, yeah. I'm writing songs while I'm faded, If it bad and Gucci and she basic. The higher that we go, they keep her waiting. Yeah, they playing for the culture. I'm a vulture, shining like a star. Throw to my wrist, yeah, I'm a love. Wear my bitch like a law. 109, wear my loafers in the car. Rolls running at midnight. Run that bitch like a go-kart. Run that bitch like a go-kart. Yeah, ain't no drip, don't trip, no trip. Yeah, I'm on my gang, no drip. Don't trip, yeah, don't trip. Yeah.